Hello everybody and welcome to Letterboxd Book Club. My name is Claire.
And I'm Mackenzie.
And today we'll be discussing the sequel to Divine Rivals, Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross.
Woo! And I will start us off with the Goodreads blurb. The epic conclusion to the intensely romantic and beautifully written story that started in Divine Rivals. 2 weeks have passed since Iris Winnow returned home, bruised and heartbroken from the front, but the war is far from over. Roman is missing, and the city of Oath continues to dwell in a state of disbelief and ignorance. When Iris and Attie are given another chance to report on Dacre's movements, they both take the opportunity and head westward once more despite the danger, knowing it's only a matter of time before the conflict reaches a city that's unprepared and fracturing beneath the chancellor's reign. Since waking below in Dacre's realm, Roman cannot remember his past, but given the reassurance that his memories will return in time, Roman begins to write articles for Dacre, uncertain of his place in the greater scheme of war. When a strange letter arrives by wardrobe door, Roman is first suspicious, then intrigued. As he strikes up a correspondence with his mysterious pen pal, Roman will soon have to make a decision to stand with Dacre or betray the god who healed him. And as the days grow darker, inevitably drawing Roma and Iris closer together, the two of them will risk their very hearts and futures to change the tides of the war.
Love it, love it. Thoughts, feelings and emotions, Kenzie.
I'm scared about what your thoughts, feelings and emotions are going to be.
It's not that bad.
Okay. So I will start off with, we are on a roll, ladies and gentlemen. Another 5-star read for me for 2024. I am very happy. 0 qualms. 5 stars. What an emotional roller coaster. Great book. Great sequel. Tied it up neatly. Craving for more. There won't be more though, but that is okay. Nicely.
We can only yearn for it.
Yes. It could have gone one way and it didn't, and I'm glad that it didn't, and I'll talk about it when we get to it.
Okay. Love that for you. Alright, my thoughts, feelings and emotions. I agree with all of that, although I just do have some, discussion point and thoughts. I enjoyed the read overall. It was an emotional roller coaster. We know I love a memory loss type of trope. Have a few issues with that in this book, however, but we'll dig in when we dig in. It's okay. But overall, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, it's one of those things where, yeah, you can really love and appreciate the book, but also, you can just take a step back and just think, this could be done differently or whatever, but I enjoyed it overall. Excellent sequel, tied up neatly. Kenzie, what are you doing? Alright, shall I just dig into my thoughts, like my notes?
Yes, and we shall discuss.
I thought that Forrest was going to have a bit more of a role in this book.
Yes. Okay, I do have one qualm, but yeah.
Given the fact that the whole first book is entirely kind of Iris's motivation to find him, and that's why she's involved in being a war correspondent, I thought he was going to have more of a role in this book, or even offer up even more insight about perhaps Dacre and how he heals and the memory aspect of it all, because I feel like I don't really remember if Forrest even said that there was that or he probably did it in passing, saying that his memories, he will forget you, but it'll take a while to get it back. I think. I don't know
if he specifically said it. I think he just said, like, the price that he pays or whatever, or, like, the price that Forrest had to pay. And he's like, and that's why it took me a while to find you again, and blah, blah, blah.
But I just thought he could have, perhaps done more. But I suppose, what can you do when you're a war deserter, in a way? Next little thing, for me personally. I thought Roman remembering Iris and who he is happened a bit too quickly, because I was reading and I thought it was only going to be 3 parts in this book, much like the first one. And so I got to part 3 and I'm like, shit, am I almost done? And then I looked at my progress and I'm like 47%. I'm like, what is happening? I thought there was going to be maybe perhaps more angst or longing and yearning, or even start remembering closer towards the end of the book. But I don't know, it is what it is.
I did enjoy, though, how he got it back, though. It was because after he, touched her. And so it was cute that was the connection, because I didn't want there to be too much waffling on with C and E writing to each other again, because we've been there. So, I didn't want, a regurgitation of the first book. So I was glad that was the way that, there wasn't too much time spent on that. And then, when he touched her, he got it all back, and it was very super sweet, because I was wondering how that was going to happen.
Yeah, I suppose there are other ways. Like, you can remember things through different senses, whether, of course, it'd be through sight, smell, touch, and all that type of stuff. So it's good that was highlighted. But I was going to say, I really enjoyed that we had that switcheroo moment as well, because in last week's book, I talked about how I don't like the men knowing straight away that they're talking to their love interest, but I liked how, we had that bit of a switcheroo where it's now Iris's turn to try and convince Roman to kind of fall in love with her again.
And I also really enjoyed as well how Iris didn't straight away go into the, I'm your wife, you're this person, blah, blah, blah. It was more, it was like, no, like, I'll let him learn in his own time. Because one, you don't know what he knows and what he's thinking, because, he could be loyal to Dacre. But then also, you want him back. So good on her for having the courage to not divulge everything right away.
And I think in media as well, in all forms, when there is that sort of like amnesia, memory loss sort of situation, the last thing you want to do is bombard people with information and be like, oh, I'm your spouse, or I'm this or that, this is your cousin, or this is your child, or whatever, because it could be an overwhelming thing. And of course, in this context, we don't know, well, Iris doesn't know how compromised Roman actually is. So it was nice that it was coaxed him into it while they were trying to trust each other again.
Yeah, for sure.
Just another little thing. I thought Enver was a little bit underwhelming as a goddess. Like, we spent 80...
I thought it was going to end up being that Dacre was the good guy.
Yeah, that's where I thought it was going, because when he was convincing Roman, when Roman was early into his allegiance and working for him, Dacre had that flowery language where it's like, oh, my story has been misconstrued, I need you to tell it, I'm here to heal and revitalize the city and reconstruct and all that stuff. And I'm here sitting here thinking, you know what, the man has a point, we don't really know, etc., etc. So it just shows an insight as to how he would have then manipulated a whole city into believing him and his sympathizers. But I was very worried, but because we got too much of him, it was obviously
I was starting
suspicious
to simp.
enough. Starting to simp for Dacre. Hashtag simp for Dacre.
I was starting to get it,
Yeah. That's what I was thinking as well. Then all we saw was Dacre, and of course we were getting little elements of Enver through the dreams. Did you figure out the dreams as soon as the music was a recurring sort of motif? No.
I just, well done to you, Smarty fans. Because I just forgot about, like, the music element. But I thought that there was a message in the music, but I didn't think that it was directly coming from Enver. I was like, just stay asleep, like, remember the lyrics, like, there'll be something in the lyrics.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was obviously the ancient lullaby song, but I just thought it was similar to how she would call for soldiers, except it was just, trying to form a trust between Iris, in a way, as well, Attie and Enver together so they can be able to work together. I was just going to say, especially since the first chapter of this book is an Enver point of view, I thought we were going to get a lot more of her, or we were going to bounce back and forth between Dacre and Enver. But then towards the end, of course, Enver is when she shines the most, and she's there when Iris really kind of needed her and needed the guidance. And I think just with her magic weakening and stuff, it really put her on the back foot, and it was really hard for us to kind of really get to know her and see like what the appeal is of her.
I think this book was towing the line between fantasy and new adult romance.
For sure.
And I think, despite no qualms or whatever, I think that, it would have benefited if it had leaned a little bit more into it. Because it was just, straddling that line, and it's like, pick a lane or go completely, into it. What did you think when Roman woke up and Dacre was like, which typewriter is yours? And then he said, this one is mine. And he gave Iris's one instead and destroyed his.
I was a bit confused. I was like, what's going on?
Same. I was like, why is this? I thought that Dacre knew what they were or something, but then it didn't really mean anything. So I was like, well, why did you do that?
Yeah, I think it's obviously just to drive a wedge and make it difficult for Roman and Iris to inevitably correspond again. Yeah, and it took a while for it to really be, like, finalised that Iris actually did lose her typewriter in perhaps a bombing or the trenches or whatever. Yeah, I was hella confused. I was like, why?
Well, they left it was during the bombing because they left them in the B&B.
Yeah, but I suppose Dacre was like, well, the man needs a typewriter. Like, how else is he going to write articles for me? So pick one. I thought it was a test because it's so stupid, but I suppose you want the familiarity of your own piece of tech and, but the fact that there was an inkling in Roman to be like, I choose Iris is one. It could also have helped with his memories as well, though it's not his own familiar tool.
No, he didn't pick Iris's, he picked his.
Oh.
And then Dacre secretly gave him Iris's and destroyed his.
Right. Yeah, I don't know then. Sorry. I'm a dummy sometimes.
Yeah, I thought it was going to have a deeper meaning.
I don't know, this is probably just like a question for the author, but did the gods sense, like, magical items?
I mean, maybe, but they both would have been magical. So.
Yeah. Dacre probably just thought, well, what's the man going to do with 2 identical typewriters? Like, just fuck it off.
Or maybe, actually, I think I've just figured it out. I think he was concerned that if he had his typewriter, it would make his memories come back faster.
Oh, yes. I like that. Well done.
Thank you.
She is also a smarty pants. Alright, I'm just going to continue on with my list real quick. And this is going to be a little bit all over the place, just because a lot of these moments kind of happen sporadically throughout.
Well, do you want to talk about Forest? Sorry, I think I interrupted you earlier when we were talking about Forest.
Oh, yeah. What did you want to say about Forest?
Well, as you were saying, that the first book, the progression of the plot started because Iris needed to go and find out what was happening with her brother. And then in this one, he dies.
Yep. Rip, homie.
He gets with Prindle. Not really any character growth. He's like, I went to the doctor to get some medicine.
He's just a little bit kind of mopey and like PTSD style from the war, which is fair enough. But like there was, I mean, he did get a job.
Yeah. And then Sarah Prindle, #Queen, from Divine Rivals, starts sleeping with him. I
mean, he's allowed
and
to
they both die. And it's her fault he died.
Justice for Forest.
So Iris truly has no one but Roman at the end of the book.
And Roman...
Right, and Attie.
And Roman has his entire family.
Yeah. Oh, his dad got charged, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's probably gone to prison.
It is a very sad...
he is going to prison, yeah.
Yeah. It is a very sad outcome, and it does kind of suck, but I love the fact that it's that grit of war and everything. Like, you know, you're not guaranteed to live. Despite being a fantasy book, there is no guarantee of a completely happily ever after either, which I like that. Bold. And I keep forgetting that, this is a YA book considered. It was just a shame that Forrest didn't contribute as much to the story, other than he had a secret relationship.
Forrest became the Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
The Manic Pixie Dream Boy.
Yeah. He was just progressing Iris' storyline. For
sure. But it's nice that he found comfort and perhaps love in Sarah as well during his darkest times. And I loved the ultimate parallel between them and Roman and Iris from the first book, although Roman and Iris did not die, whereas Sarah and Forrest died together holding hands, him trying to protect her. It was just like, so sad.
But also, like, Sarah, it's like, your father's probably old, like, let him die.
Just let him go.
Yeah. You can be safe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hopefully, I don't know, like, hopefully it was relatively quick, I don't know. There was no suffering.
Yeah, I don't know how bombs work.
Don't know how bombs work. Just a lot of debris and shrapnel, and I think the building collapsed.
I'm just a baby. Yeah.
Poor Forrest, but I thought he was gonna play a bigger role, perhaps even not necessarily re-enlist, but like help Iris a bit more instead of just being. I
thought it would have been cool to see him like go back to Dacre and be like, oh my god, like I got lost, blah blah blah, and then like he would help get Roman out.
Maybe.
I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah, but I think there's now too much going on with who is espionaging and who isn't, and all that type of stuff.
Everyone is.
Everyone, like, no one is truly loyal.
Yeah, everyone has an ulterior motive.
Absolutely. Moving on from my list real quick. Dacre being obsessed with an 18-year-old journalist who had literally no sway in this war. Dacre was winning, and he was like, I need Iris. Iris needs to write for me. She will convince the people on my behalf. But it's like, no, you're winning the war, and you're convincing people on your own. But I suppose with his magic and everything...
you already have Roman.
Yeah, and you already have Roman. Are you saying he's like a dingus writer or something? He won columnist for a reason. Yeah, I didn't really understand his complete and utter obsession and motive towards Iris. I was just like, she is literally just a girl, just riding away. But I suppose she's writing the truth, despite Oath trying to censor her and censor their stories.
Well, I think it was that he wanted to do his healing on her.
Yeah, for sure.
So that, yeah, she would have no memories, and then he would have
absolutely. But at this point, you've already infiltrated and influenced around Oath anyway. Like, you probably don't need her in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just a little bit weird to me. My biggest one so far is this graveyard group.
Oh yeah,
like, they were just introduced. Like, I understand them being like this militant army militia group, rebels,
guerrilla
group. Although I did appreciate that it also highlights, at the end of the day, it's not just Team Enver, Team Dacre. There is a third option, which is just Team No Gods. Like, I liked that aspect, but I disliked how they were just introduced in this book relatively late.
And they seem to just be, like, very OP as well.
Yeah, very late, and there seemed to be no real encounters with them, just being seen of them when Iris was heisting the museum. Yeah. And there was no, run-ins with them, or... I especially hated how they assumed a sort of leadership kind of role at the end. They were like, all right, we're going to execute Dacre's soldiers. And then obviously Keegan steps in. But it's like, who asked you to be in charge as well?
Also, like, we're going to kill them all, no trial. And it's like, okay, well, let's do that to you then.
Yeah. Like, how are they any better than... It becomes one of those complexities and complicated questions of,
I also didn't like how Shane... like, his whole shtick, and he was, like, a mole the whole time or whatever. But then I don't understand how he got away with it for so long, but Roman does, one thing out of sorts, and Dacre's like, sus on him.
Plans being ruined and being betrayed and things not going right has only started happening when Roman was abducted, essentially.
I guess it's, like, the end of the road, so...
Yeah, it's pretty easy to pin the blame. Yeah. And obviously Shane's only there for his own selfish motivations. And again, he's been relaying information back to this graveyard militia. Yeah. So really, they've been there since the first book, but they've only really been introduced in this book. And I just thought they should have had a more ominous presence in the first book as well, if we are going to follow along with them also. And, like, we don't even know who the true leader is, do we? I don't remember. So, there's no closure there, personally.
And then at the end, we don't find out, like, who the new chancellor is and stuff. We just find out it's a female.
I want it to be Keegan, though.
Yeah.
Keegan. Although she deserves to, like, retire gracefully, I'd imagine. Her and Marisol in their little cottage, in their garden. Yeah, for sure. Alright, that's pretty much main pointed qualms. However, I loved overall, and despite being a YA book, that I loved that there was a highlight of realistic expectations, complexities, and outcomes of war in general.
Yeah.
Like the tactics either side uses in order to promote their propaganda. I liked the media censorship, and how facts, myths, histories are all falsified, erased, or even just, like, misspoken, because a lot of... Once you've realised what's kind of the story between Enver and Dacre, you start to think, well, why are Dacre sympathisers even sympathising with Dacre when he was essentially in the wrong the entire time? Like, you just don't understand.
Yeah.
And I liked how, there was the highlight of we need a proper trial for the Dacre soldiers, because, a lot of them were just healed and they needed to serve in order to survive. Like, there are complexities around that.
Yeah, and it seemed like anyone who signed up voluntarily was out to get him.
Yeah, it seems that way as well. It seems no one truly was a Dacre loyalist.
Yeah. By enjoying this as well, I felt like there was a lot going on.
Yes.
And it felt a little bit like multiple stories going on all at once. Like, at the end of the day, I could have just read it as, like, one side was called Dacre and one side was called Enver, and then I didn't even need, like, the all-powerful gods or whatever. And then because there's all this stuff about the other gods as well. And then how if a god kills them, then they get their power, but if a mortal kills them, then it just kills them and nullifies their power. And so there's all this stuff about, Enver's already killed them because she doesn't want Dacre to have their power, blah, blah, blah. And I felt a lot of time was spent on those stories as well, when it didn't really benefit the book. It didn't really push the plot forward. It was more just, Dacre is wanting more power, and there's lots and lots of different ways to get more power anyway. And then down below, or the underworld or whatever, didn't seem like scary either. It just felt like another, like, set piece, really, because the time spent there, Attie and Iris kind of went in and out, killed Dacre, see ya.
Yeah,
no troubles. And then same with Roman, like, he spent a lot of time down there. And then also when he was chained up with the Wyverns, again, nothing really happened to him. I think this would have, benefited from being a trilogy So, yeah, I reckon if this one had been the majority of Roman trying to get, like, his memory back and then focusing on the story of the gods, and then in the third one, if we'd had, that's when he, like, changed sides again and knows everything, and then that's when Attie and Iris hatch the plan and do everything to, like, kill Dacre.
And have it like a proper adventure in the underworld type of vibe.
Yeah. I just feel like, there was a lot, sorry. Yeah, there was a lot going on and not enough time to process what was going on.
Like, it wasn't super fleshed out as well.
Yeah, like, it felt like the
either.
longest amount of time was that 2 weeks in the start, and then honestly, it could have been like 4 days that the rest of this all happened in.
Yeah, it should have been like the pacing of the actual narrative could have been a bit quicker, perhaps. But yeah, I agree. I just thought, I suppose it's very easy to have Roman mimic or replicate a map and then just be like, all right, and then Iris can understand it straight away. It's like there was no sort of hardship, real sense of adventure, I guess.
Yeah.
Going into the underworld.
And then even I thought when Iris was stealing the first Alouette, I thought that would be more perilous.
Yes,
then I
perilous.
guess-
That's the best way to describe. There was no real sense of peril. Despite there being literally bombs dropped on all these places, there was no sense of peril.
Yeah, but then, I guess you find out that Enver's moonlighting as a museum guard. So I guess she just let them in. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more, like they almost got caught or something. Or it turns out it was a replica and she had to find the first one.
Oh, yeah. Like, have there been just more grunt about it, I guess.
Yeah, and then
know.
even when she snuck into the Kit house... Again, I wish there was a bit more, like, stakes
sense of
there.
danger. Yeah, sense of danger and getting caught. Because obviously Iris, at that point, was very important to Dacre in that he wants her on his side. And, yeah, she's able to just sneak in really easily. She's able to sneak into the underworld pretty easily. She's able to,
because,
steal the...
you find out that Roman's been watched. And because they do the whole... they had quite the romantic exchange that Val tells Dacre, but then fails to mention as well, hey, she also spent the night. I mean, there was, there was that scene where Val went back, like, Roman could hear that, like, the door, could sense that the door had been opened or whatever to the underworld, and then Val had returned, so obviously he just came back in the morning, but still, like...
Yeah, I loved how you described it. Not a lot of peril.
Yes.
Despite all the death and destruction and chaos.
Yes.
I completely agree with that. Just quickly going back to my little war spiel that I had going on real quick. And this is relating back to the graveyard again, and we had just discussed it, but I did like that it highlights the power vacuum that war and everything creates between having all sorts of leaders dead, like who's in charge. But obviously, a new chancellor was elected straight away, and again, we don't know that process or who it is, which is annoying. I'm sure there was a vice chancellor, so...
Sometimes, I like the political side of things.
Yeah, to a degree.
And I'd like to see, because your chancellor was, I'm assuming he was corrupt.
Of course.
Yeah, so I want to see, that trying to vote in a new one and what that would look like. And then, hoping it was Keegan. And then, Roman was always going to inherit the house, so I'd like to see that. Or I'd like to see more of his relationship with his nan after, like, his father was charged.
And that was just another thing as well. I liked that they took that step and was like, all right, we need a proper sort of democratic approach, so we are going to have trials for these soldiers. And it's just very reflective of our own history and our world history and everything. But I also liked that they, in a fantasy setting, you want a lot of people to be unharmed, live happily ever after. I liked how in this book there are permanent injuries and sickness and illness that comes from being a war soldier and everything like that, and especially with like the gas exposure and all that, and how it affects Roman in the long run and other people as well. So I just liked that war realism aspect, despite being a fantasy book too.
I wish that Roman had died.
Yeah, I had that feeling. I had that feeling too.
I think, like, not at the end, like, maybe in the epilogue, and maybe it was a few years later or something.
Like his disease or his illness got the better of him?
Yeah, he finally, succumbed to his ongoing, disease that, medicine and treatment can only stave off for so long, but he has injured lungs, which then puts pressure on your heart, so he's going to have a heart attack. And then I thought, because there was, like, last chapter, prologue, and then, like, epilogue, and then, like, another one, I think. There was a couple of extra little chappies at the end there.
the chappies were like a couple months later, and then a year later, and then like a prologue.
So I thought it was heading into the pregnancy way.
Of course.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? But yeah, so I don't know. I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, maybe in an epilogue, like 16 years later, and Iris is gifting like her daughter the like Roman's typewriter or something.
Yes.
Or like one of the typewriters, and then they could have named the daughter Dell.
Kenzie, don't do this to me.
After Roman's sister. Yeah. Should I write this book? I'll write this book.
Damn, Kenzie, I was just going to say, you should write a book. Popping ideas.
Yeah. I think that would have been a nice conclusion, instead of just, I planted a garden.
Hey, again, as we discussed last week, like a garden symbolism of hope and
I know
tenderness.
that the garden is an allegory. I get that, but it's very literal, though.
Not even an allegory. It's just something peaceful and tender. And how did we feel about there being this ancient sword that needed to be used? Because I thought that came upon pretty quickly, of course, as well.
I love a sword.
Love a sword. Oh yeah, of course you do.
Always.
How do we feel that Enver practically fed this information, and it's not something that...
It felt very Sorting Hat when the sword of Gryffindor appears to Neville Longbottom through the hat, because he really needs it. And it was, going to be the unassuming hero. Like, no one expects the 18-year-old girl to be the one to behead the god.
But I feel like it was always going to be that way as well, because it got to a point where Roman, despite... I don't think he could have been trusted either way.
Then I don't know, I guess Attie did the important part of the violin. But yeah, I don't know, I think maybe I would have liked Attie to do it, or Tobias or something. Like Iris would have been injured and they would have had to have taken over for her.
And despite how much we love all these side characters, like, it would have been nice for them to shine, have that moment as well. Because obviously this is not just Iris that Dacre is affecting.
Yeah.
I suppose at the end of the day, it really was a team effort. Yeah. Addie's violin, Enver's illusion, and then, Iris with the sword. But I suppose Iris did make note of the sword when they first infiltrated the museum to steal the alouette anyway, so I suppose that's the Chekhov's gun, ultimately. Chekhov's sword. But then, ultimately Enver spoon-fed that to Iris, which I was just a bit weary of. Like, couldn't there have been a tome, or perhaps... an old book
and again,
of
it came out of nowhere that they need this sword, because you'd think maybe it would have been like mentioned in the first book.
Maybe, but I suppose we also learned in the first book that Iris, especially being in a low socioeconomical state compared to Roman and other folks, like they don't know much about the divine history as much. Even like Sarah could have fed her this information, considering Sarah is the one that's so enamored by the museum and historical artifacts. Like, she could have had that role. Like, maybe her and Forrest could have been figuring out how to like take down a god. Like, how do we actually stop Dacre? But because it seems like she didn't want to stop Dacre per se. She just wanted to get Roman, whereas everyone else was still trying to stop the war.
And then I don't even know what the war was for. It's just Dacre wanting to take over everywhere. But it's like, for what?
Because he was humiliated. His pride. He's stubborn. And also, I guess, power. Yeah, men. As Enver revealed, like, ultimately he would kill her, and because she had absorbed all the other gods' powers and stuff.
You know what she could also do as a selfless act is just take herself out.
But then Dacre would still be alive. Or, like, after the fact.
Yeah, maybe.
But, like, she wants the humans to have magic.
True.
I don't know why. Like, she is that... I suppose she has that sacrifice of being immortal and the last god on this mortal earth, so long as it brings the mortals happy with their dinky little magic enchanted houses and items and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, she will do that. That's her self-sacrifice in a way.
With their pots of tea that never go cold.
Exactly. And the scones that are always hot or whatever. Although, it was pretty gnarly how it got to that point where they were talking about killing gods will absorb their magic, etc., etc. Because ultimately, the other gods were either an underling or a skyward god. So essentially, Enver killed a relative, and I thought that was pretty gnarly as well.
Yeah, and then again, there was a lot of lore that we just weren't aware of. So, I could follow it. I wasn't confused at any point. I was just confused as to why all this was part of the plot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it seemed like the sequel was doing so much in which that it could have been sprinkled about more in the first book. Or maybe she just didn't want to overwhelm everybody in the first book. Get them latched onto the relationship.
And then again, at the end of the day, the book is about Roman and Iris's love and them coming back together, etc. But again, you could have just taken out the gods and had it about war.
Just general, like a normal war.
Yeah.
It is still ultimately like a simplistic story, or a war story without all these just intricate god lore. You said last week if Attie deserved a love interest, and I'm glad she kind of has a love interest.
It is, more heavily implied.
Yeah. I loved how Tobias, he has just that whole race car driver theme about him. Like all of his lines are related to winning the next race or something. Or that's his motivational speech. Yeah,
he's got 9 lives or whatever.
yeah, he's the roadrunner essentially. I liked his integration and his involvement as well. Quite achiever. Yeah, and I'm glad Attie got to play her violin again, despite... quickly, coming back to how the sword was being an integral point kind of relatively quickly. I thought the whole music and using Attie and her violin to lull them to sleep in the underworld, I thought that was also a little bit too quick.
Did we also... Yeah, I know we spoke about it offline last time, about how we liked the imagery of this whole story being of Persephone and Hades as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it just definitely gave me Persephone and Hades vibes.
And that's what I thought, like, in the end, in this one, they are enemies, and she tricked them. But I was thinking what a twist it would be if, they were truly in love.
And working together.
And then because Enver's stuck in Oath.
But is she really, now that she has access to the underworld?
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least the underworld of Oath, I would assume.
Oath, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not too familiar with, Persephone and Hades' story. All I know from them is from Hades Town. And it just gave that vibe of, Persephone going to the underworld to see Hades and to stay there for a period amount of time before she is set free for spring again, blah, blah, blah. But only this time, Enver is just stuck there for eternity because she made a vow. And a lot of emphasis on the vow, the word vow, because of course it is the title of the book, and it is also probably what has forced this war as well. And all the vows and sacrifices Enver made. I think that could have been spread out throughout this book as well. Again, because we only get Enver the back end of the book, and it's so much to absorb her trials and tribulations and what she's gone through, and how she is affecting the war right now, and her magic
for sure
being depleted. It was very interesting to learn that she made a vow to the chancellor, or the old king at the time, to never leave Oath. And the vow to never kill Dacre, despite her not wanting to really be with him in the first place. It's that's such a huge vow to make.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also thought there was going to be a Roman Iris sort of parallel between Dacre and Enver, because they were on, the similar sides. Like Dacre would be, Roman would be on Dacre's side, Enver be on Iris' side, and then it's just a similar cycle of conflict. But lucky at the end of the day, love conquers all. Is there anything else you really want to talk about? I know we haven't gone through the plot timeline, but that doesn't matter.
That's okay.
I'm glad. Oh, I really loved the montage paragraphs as the bombs were happening. Like Marisol and Keegan were watching upon the hills. Helena was in the Tancred Tribune office.
Yes.
And Sarah
I didn't understand that there was one scene, while that was happening, where Helena was and so she sat down at her desk and typed.
I think because she's so used to being a boss, she never wrote an article.
Oh, she was just
article for years.
She was just oh yeah.
Or perhaps even.
Because I'm just what are you typing?
Yeah, I don't know, perhaps just a last hurrah message just to herself. I'm sure as a character, writing has been her passion her entire life, and perhaps even journalism has seeped its way in. So perhaps, she's hasn't written an article for herself or written any piece for herself, and she just found the time, the tranquility of the bombs going off, what perfect time. So I think that's what that was about.
Okay.
And then obviously the Sarah and Forrest running away montage was a part of that as well. I just thought that was epic. I enjoy those moments as well. It highlights where everyone is, because Marisol is upset because she thinks obviously Iris or her girls are gonna die.
Everyone has their own journey within this arc of the story.
Absolutely. May have been a little too much, but whatever. I loved the Dacre assassination attempts, though, whether it be that bomb at that courtyard or even that one sniper at that place that I forget. But
I think the sniper was still at Avalon Bluff.
I disagree. I don't remember what it's called, though. Or maybe it was Avalon Bluff. I don't know. Either way.
Because I think it was, right. When they were just like, all Hawkshire.
Yeah, that's it, Hawkshire. I'm pretty sure as Dacre was approaching, there was a lone sniper. Yeah, it's nice because, we never really get to see Enver's forces, or we don't see much pushback from them. Like, it's a very one-sided, dominated war by Dacre. So it was nice to see that little bit of a tussle. Yeah, the assassination attempt on Dacre and ultimately Roman's father involved with that. How do we feel about him flipping sides just for the sake of...
At the last minute?
Yeah.
I think he was just trying to save his own ass.
And probably try and save his son's
life.
Yeah,
and it's like his collusion with the Dr. Doolittle, whatever their name was.
Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Dr. Little. Yeah, Dr. Little.
Yeah, Dr. Little, yeah. And Eliza Little ultimately resulted in the death of his son.
Yeah, pretty much. Ultimately,
so
down the line.
He deserved whatever was coming for him.
Yeah, because I was looking at Reddit comments, scouring for just, other, opinions. I sometimes do that when I finish a book. And I just saw a Reddit post where someone was, a bit confused. They were like, well, surely because his father ultimately switched sides, he doesn't deserve to be put on trial, right? But as you said, of course, in the collusion and the creation of this gas that has resulted in thousands of deaths, he deserves to be put away. Mm-hmm. And that highlights another complexity of war, or the aftermath of war.
And he was doing all that just to, I don't know, create this legacy for his son.
And his family.
But yeah, and there's so many times in books and in stories where this thing is of people trying to, bad things in the hopes just to save their innocence in their life. Innocence with a T, not a C. Innocence as in innocent people. Yeah. Where, they sacrifice their morals for what they believe is the greater good, but inevitably it is not the greater good. And it causes just their downfall, yeah.
In the first book especially, it was about how they want greater status in society, and aligning with Dacre, he would favour them and he would give them those titles and benefits of high society. But obviously... No, it comes down to him just rotting into prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah, what do you get, 70 years?
Yeah, 70 years, which is pretty, I suppose, in the life expectancy
That's
of these
a life
mortals,
sentence.
It's pretty much, a life sentence, guaranteed. And I know we didn't even discuss this in the first book, but the implications of Roman just abandoning his family, at least it was addressed and, ticked off in this book. But, yeah, I was very interested to how, we didn't get their perspective earlier about Roman's disappearance.
Yeah.
Until that 2-week period.
Well, I think his father knew where he was. Oh, no, he didn't, because he sent Val to Iris, where is he?
Oh, he had his own associate.
Yeah.
Find Iris and be like, where is he? Here is a bribe money to annul the marriage.
Yeah.
My other qualm is that, I know technically he is Iris's father-in-law, but the way she addresses being like, oh, it's a letter from my father-in-law, it's
yeah.
I don't think you don't have that relationship.
Yeah, you haven't even announced your marriage or anything.
No.
And also, sure, you're married, but you're coming back without your husband, and he's presumed dead. And then when he does appear, it's through articles written for the enemy. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's just anytime she mentioned him, it's my father-in-law.
And it's so, always the moral high ground or whatever. I don't need your money, whatever. I would be sure, take the money, and then just not fucking annul the marriage.
Yeah, just get scammed, bro.
Yeah, that's on you.
Yeah, exactly. What are they going to do? Kill her?
Yeah.
With Forrest around, he would probably kill these folks.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that particular associate was a part of this fucking graveyard situation. It's I was just so messed up with the graveyard. I'm this is so unnecessary. This is adding too much. It's the power vacuum, I guess. Militia armies emerge and try and take advantage of vulnerable situations. But yeah, we didn't get a lot of hound action. Oh, I suppose we
got that one scene.
Yeah, and even the wyverns.
Yeah, we also didn't get a lot of wyvern action either.
The off-screen bombing and just Roman riding a wyvern. To be fair, Homeboy has some unique experiences and stories to tell.
He does, but again, he could have been riding a horse.
Sure. Yeah.
And the hounds could have been soldiers. We already have the gods. I think it would be a better book without the fantasy.
I was just going to say, you're trying to just strip back the fantasy right now.
Yeah. Have
it like a historical fiction type of book.
Yeah, with a little bit of magic. We didn't need the magical creatures.
Because now, where are they? They're just asleep forever. Yeah. One day, Enver will rise up and want to conquer the world again. That's the third book. Never going to kill Enver. No, but the mortals want their fucking magic still. It's hard. It's a weird balance. Like, you don't want to be ruled by gods, but you want to keep the benefits of having magic. Kind of everything.
Because I just think that the creatures, sure, like, have the gods. Okay, I can get on board with that. But I think the creatures, are so out of place in this, not modern, but modern society, that it is that they're just so out of place that it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. Does the Skywards have creatures?
Exactly.
Why
exactly,
is it
and it's
just
only Dacre that has creatures. And even if it was just hellhounds, like, he could have used hellhounds instead of wyverns as well.
It just seemed like too much. Again, OP.
Yeah, there's not enough fantasy for the creatures to make sense.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree with that. It was a bit too much, and it was very one-sided.
Yeah, because I think it would be, I don't know, maybe if, like, a scratch from a hellhound made you, like, hallucinate or whatever and blah, blah, blah. And then, or maybe, like, the wyverns breathed fire and that was, like, the gaseous substance.
Maybe.
Because I just think, blending them with the gas and stuff, it was so out of place.
And if they have trams, why do they not have, like, an aeroplane?
Exactly.
That could drop bombs.
Exactly.
Maybe they don't want to be too reminiscent of, like, World War I, World War II, or all the wars, etc., etc. And then just the argument that the wyverns, ethereals, whatever, they can't ascertain who's a Dacre soldier or a regular soldier. Yeah,
because there was so much emphasis on, in the first book, on their jumpsuits, and it says, like, war correspondent. So, like, this means you can't get hurt. And then in this one, when he has, like, underling correspondent, this means you can't get hurt. And they're just constantly getting hurt.
And they're constantly thrown in the thick of conflict and battles and dangerous situations. Like, when Roman first encountered Iris physically for the first time again, he was meant to be sussing out the house, the old B&B house, and he runs into her. And it's like, that's not his job. That's out of his scope of practice.
Yeah.
He should not be doing that. But I think that was also maybe a test for Dacre as well. And then, just back to the wyverns real quickly, and add the element that they were also controlled by magic, by music.
By music,
as well. I just thought that was very strange.
Yes.
And
it would make more sense because it was like a whistle, like a little flute thing. I feel like it would make more sense for the hounds to be controlled by the flute.
Right.
Because it's reminiscent of a dog whistle.
Yeah, for sure. But I also just think, like, why did the wyverns have to be controlled by magic? Could they not just be an extension of Dacre's magic and Dacre just orders them around? I don't know. Ultimately enjoyed the book, though, despite all that we've said.
Yeah,
Still enjoyed it. If you're a person and you like the war realism as you can get in a fantasy book, like, you'll enjoy it. And if you like the love story, or love a love story, then you'll enjoy this book as well.
Yeah. Just suspend your disbelief for the other stuff.
And it's a bit chunkier than the first book as well, because, of course, there was a lot more to say and a lot more to be done. Although, rip Forrest, unfortunate. Someone had to die. There had to be some death.
Yes.
You can't kill Marisol or Keegan. You can't kill Tobias or Attie. Unfortunately, you just had to kill Forrest and Sarah. Shall we go to the stars that listen, unless there are other lingering thoughts?
Stars that listen.
Just really quickly, like, when, I don't know if it was Roman or Iris, when one of them said, either you're my wife or I'm your wife, I started tearing up. I'm like, yes, fight for your spouse. And then, obviously, the final pages and all the death and the imminent danger. All right, the stars that listen.
I have a couple of each.
Okay,
do you want to go first or do you want me to go first? Okay.
The Stars That Listen is a segment we do on this podcast where we read a 1-star review and a 5-star review from Goodreads just for a bit of shits and gigs. We start off with the 1-star reviews because they're pretty gnarly and can be quite harsh. And we want to end on a positive note with the 5 stars. Kenzie will go first.
Not everyone should write books. Also, I still can't figure out when or why she got her hair cut.
I know, your Roman and Forrest commented.
And then my
on
other one
That was
is
so
my
funny.
New Year's resolution is to finally be okay DNFing a book because honestly this was a waste of time. Was this yours? I kept reading despite not loving Divine Rivals, which was I was hoping for more fantasy and for things to get much better. But nope, once again this was a war novel and I was bored to say the least. See, I would say the opposite. I think it was a fantasy
That's a
novel
shame.
and I wanted more war.
There was not enough death and destruction for my liking. Not a lot of child endangerment.
Okay, sorry.
So I have 2 1-star reviews and they're within the same screenshot. And we didn't search hard for these, so these are all just out there. I really wanted to love this book series as much as everyone else does, but I just don't believe the chemistry between Iris and Roman at all. The writing is very tall. The writing is very tell instead of show, and the whole story is so rushed. Both books take place over the span of like a month. Lol. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it was definitely less than a year.
Yeah. But also, again, and we always fight with the 1-stars. Like, this is wartime. Every day you need to take as your last day. So I get that.
yeah. It's
Alright, to the 5 stars.
urgency
It
of
was
it all.
really hard. Oh, sorry. Oh,
Wait,
sorry.
I still have a 1-star.
Sorry.
DNF at 69%. Sad face. I know, right? I kept wanting to love this book, but once I listened at 1.95 and skipping a lot of parts, I decided to put it down. Painfully predictable, the gods in the universe are mega lame, characters make some dumb choices. I just can't. Life's too short.
Fair. It was really hard to find a 5-star that wasn't like an essay from someone who received an arc. Okay, if I got paid every time I cried while reading this masterpiece, I would be a rich woman. Very true. One of the best sequels I've ever read. This series will always have a special place in my heart now. If you love Divine Rivals, you will definitely love this finale. It's just as tender, gripping, and beautifully written. And then, is it possible to have already read my favourite book of 2024?
Wow, love that. That's a big statement. Alrighty, my 5-star. I have 2. Thank you, Rebecca Ross, for my upcoming therapy sessions. And then the next 5-star review. I don't think I will ever recover. This definitely gave me 5-star feelings, but I also think I felt more during Divine Rivals. Regardless, a beautiful, heartbreaking duet. This world and storyline was so amazing to me and satisfied the part of my soul that occupied with Iris and Roman. My Roman Empire, to be honest. Hey,
Very
I love
nice.
that though. Roman Empire. That should be the name of the fan base of this book series. Roman Empire, yep.
Alright, thank you all for listening. Once again. That concludes this episode. Find us on Instagram at letterboxbookclub. From there, our link tree is in the bio, where you'll find us in all the places. Leave comments, leave suggestions for books that you want us to do, whatever. Interact. We love fan interaction. We love listener interaction. Yeah, tune in next week for another book. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't decided yet.
Goodbye.
Bye.